Good afternoon all. In today's class, we are going to discuss about modules in Python. After that, we discuss about object-oriented principles and we discuss about how to create a class and object in Python. Last class, we discussed about the modules. So module is nothing but a Python file. There are two types of modules. One is predefined module, another one is user-defined module. The predefined module is nothing but the modules are designed by the Python developers. When you install the Python in your system, these modules will be included in the Python folders. That means, for example, a math library is a math module. So this is the predefined module available in Python. So now, this module, these type of modules we call as a predefined module. You can directly use this module in your program. Okay. So coming to user-defined module. So last class we discussed about this. The user-defined module. So what is a module? So module is nothing but a program. A Python program we call as a module. So for example, so last class create a module. This is the program. For this, we give a name as a module 1. Module 1. You give any name. You give any name. Okay, now we create another program. In this program, you are going to import this module. So that is the user-defined module. Now, this user-defined module is imported to another program. So, for example, this program name is test1.py. So, this is the test1. The program, the file name is test1.py. Okay. So, this concept we are called as a user-defined module. So, that means these user-defined modules are developed by the programmers. That means who write the program, they will be developed these user-defined modules. We see more examples on this user-defined modules. Okay. So first we are going to create a module here. Listen carefully. So how to create the module. So this is the module. So for example, I want to save this module on desktop Python classes folder. Module name is like CRR is the module name. Okay. What is the module name here? CRR.py. If you observe that the module name is CRR.py. Okay. Now, in this, I define the variables a equals to 20, b equals to 10. I define 4 functions. The first one is add. So print a plus b. Okay. Now, in this user-defined module CRR.py, I define 4 functions. One is add, another one is subtraction, another one is multiplication, another one is division. Okay. Subtraction means a minus b, multiplication means asterisk b, division means a slash. Okay. So this is the module. Yes, there is no error. I save this module in desktop Python classes folder. Okay. Now I create a file. I create a program file that is test1.py. Test1.py. Okay. So this is the program test1.py. Now you all remember that the module and the program. The module and the program file. The these two located in the same directory. Same directory. Now import. Import. What is the module name? The module name is CRR. Import CRR. So print CRR dot A. What is the A value? If I execute this, you observe that it prints 20. The 20 is output. Actually, the 20 is the value of A defined in CRR module. So defined in which module? CRR module. Okay, similarly, we can access print dot print. We call the functions also like CRR dot add, CRR dot subtraction, CRR dot multiplication, CRR dot division. Okay. Now, if we execute this, what happens? These functions and members are defined in a module. The module name is CRR. This is the CRR module. In this define equals to 20 and b equals to 10, and we define 4 functions: add, subtraction, and multiplication and division. Now, so when you import this module in your program, test1.py, then so these functions and members are imported to this program, test1.py. But we access this function, we access these members and functions with the help of module name here. If you observe that, so how we access the variable A means CRR dot A, the CRR dot B, so CRR dot add. Okay. So instead of this, if I call A, so how we can do that? So that means if I print A, no, my intention is I want to print the value of A. How? So simply we are going to write like this. From CRR import A comma B comma add comma GP comma, so multiplication comma division. Now instead of CRR.A, directly print A, print B, and you directly call the functions add, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Okay. You observe that we get the same output. So 10, 20, 10 are the A and B values, 30 is the addition, 10 is the subtraction, 200 is the multiplication, 2.0 is the division. Here, A, B are the members, and add all these for all the remaining are functions. So, but I want to import all the members and member functions. Then instead of this, we are going to write asterisk here. What is the asterisk? Asterisk means all the functions and members in the CRR module. So that will be imported into this the test1.py. If I execute, it returns the same output. Okay. I hope you all are understand that what is the difference between asterisk and functions here. So for example, I want to import specifically only one function, for example, add only. For example, add. Then if I execute this, it returns an error here. It returns an error. Why? I import only add from the module CRR. I change like this, A comma B. A comma B add. Now, only first 3 instructions will be executed. 20, 10, 30. The subtraction function not defined in this module. Why? Here we import only A comma B comma add only. So if I want to import all the functions and members in the module, then I am going to use the asterisk here. So asterisk represents all. Now we don't get any errors here. You observe that. Okay. Next one. Next one is you're going to import like this also. So for example, from CRR import A. You write the instructions import statement like this also. You can okay. The import A, import B, import add, import subtraction, import multiplication and division. So this is also wait. Okay. So for example, here, if you observe that here we are importing these members and functions. Okay. Instead of this, we are going to create an alias name to the module. What's the module name here? The module name is CRR. The module name is CRR. For example, how we can import that? Import CRR. So now we call these variables like this, CRR.A and CRR.B like this. We call the function CRR.add, CRR.subtraction, CRR.multiplication, and CRR.division. Okay, same output. Now I want to create an alias name to this module CRR. I want to create an alias name. For example, import CRR. I call the members and functions with the help of CRR module name here. Instead of this, I want to call like this. So C dot A, C dot B, C dot add, C dot subtraction, C dot multiplication, C dot division. So how now you're going to create an alias name to this module CRR. So import CRR as C. That's it. What is the alias name here? C is the alias name. So I give the name to the CRR as a C. So import CRR as a C. So now if we execute this program, now what happened? This C is the name, alias name to the module CRR. Okay. So in this way, you are going to use user-defined modules. I hope everyone understand the user-defined module. So how to use user-defined module? So first, we're going to create the module. The module is nothing but a Python file, Python program. Now that Python program, you're going to import to any other program. Okay. So how? So import the module name. That's it. Okay. Okay. So next topic. So object-oriented principles. These principles are very important. So regarding your final exams also, in C++ also, you are going to see these object-oriented principles, C++ or Java. Okay, this is the introduction class actually for object-oriented languages. So object-oriented principles. So these are the object-oriented principles. First one is class. Second one, object. Third one, encapsulation. Fourth one, abstraction. Fifth one, inheritance. Sixth one, polymorphism. Okay, coming to class. So what is a class means? The class is a collection of members and functions. Members and functions we called as a class. Okay, so what is the members? So members are nothing but variables. The members are nothing but variables in your program. Int A, int B, all these are the members. The functions is nothing but define some functions with the help of DEF. DEF. All these are the functions. Now, what is a class? So class is a combination of variables and functions. Okay, that means if you have any problem, if you have any big problem, now that problem is divided into the subproblems. Subproblems. For example, P1, P2, and P3. Let us assume. Now, so this is the one class. The class name is P1. Now, the variables and methods or functions related to this P1 are right in this P1 class. Similarly, the members and methods and functions related to P2 are right in this P2. So similarly, the members and methods related to P3 are written in this P3. Okay. So everyone understand that the function or method, both are the same. Okay. In our previous classes also we discussed about functions and methods. So these two are the same. Okay. So class is a combination of members and functions, members and methods. Okay. So now what is an object? But up to now, we write many programs. All the programs, if you observe that, we write the main program, main. So after that, we define some functions. We call these functions from this main function. Okay. So now, so for this type of structure we call as a procedure-oriented language. Procedure-oriented language, you are going to call the functions from main function. Now, so what is the disadvantage is in the procedure-oriented is the security. The security is the main concern in procedure-oriented languages. So now, by using these object-oriented languages, you are going to achieve the security. How? Means you are going to divide the problem into subproblems, and each problem we write as a one main, one class. So now, so these classes cannot communicate each other. We can call these classes from the main function. Okay. So now, if you observe that, what is the object means? What is a class? So class is a combination of methods and functions. So this we are called as a prototype. Prototype of a problem. So this we are called as a prototype. Now, the class does not exist. So for example, if I try to define a class student, so what is a class student? It's a combination of members and functions. So members is nothing but, for example, student number, student name, student father name, student address, student marks. All these are the members of that class. Members of that class. So coming to functions or methods. So for example, I define a function known as a display. So display the details of the student. Okay. Similarly, so define, so find the average of marks. Average of marks. All these two are the functions. Now, if you observe that, so what is the, if I print display, what is the output? Does not print anything. Why? The class student is just a prototype. It's a prototype, and it is the imagination of the programmer. So that means when the programmer try to write the program, the programmer can think that the class student have so these members and these functions. So coming to object, object is nothing but basic instance. It's a real-time instance to this class. Instance of the class. So basic runtime instance we are called as object. You understand these two. In many interview questions, they are asking about the what is the difference between class and object. The class is a combination of members and methods, and it is a prototype. It is a blueprint of the program. But coming to object, object is a basic runtime entity, or object is the instance of a class. For example, with the student class, if I create an object Ravi, now this Ravi object have number, name, father name, address, and marks. We create another object Sita. Now, so this Sita object have student number, name, father name, address name, and marks. Now, if you observe, the class is a prototype that does not exist, but the object will be exist. So these objects will be exist. So simply saying, assume that there is a class dog. The dog is a class. So these dog have some attributes, for example, color, height. And the functions are, let us assume running is a function. Let us assume. Okay, now the dog does not exist. As a programmer, we think that the dog is a class. It has two attributes, ch, and one function run. But when the object is created for this dog, for example, Snoopy. So Snoopy is the object to this dog. Now that Snoopy will be exist. That means class does not exist. So class is a imaginary of the program. Okay. So this is about class and object. Now encapsulation. So what is the encapsulation? The encapsulation is nothing but wrapping up of data into a single unit. So encapsulation. So capsule, you all are thinking that the capsule. That means the capsule in which there is a medicine. So for this medicine, you are going to give some security. So this we are called as an encapsulation. The encapsulation is nothing but wrapping up of data into a single unit. So this concept we are called as a encapsulation. So in our previous example, the student is the class name. Now the data related to student, for example, student number, student name, student marks, all these are wrapping up of, all the data is wrapping up into one single unit known as a student. So for example, there is a class faculty, the faculty. Now this faculty number, so faculty name, so these attributes belongs to a class faculty here. Encapsulation is nothing but wrapping up of data into a single unit. These are data, faculty number and the name belongs to faculty class, and the student number and the student name and student marks are related to class student. If you observe that in procedure oriented language, we are going to declare all these variables in main. From the main, so this student, we can access the data members, any data member in the main. That means there is no security. So by using this encapsulation concept, you are going to provide the security. Encapsulation and abstraction also. The abstraction, the next concept is abstraction. So abstraction is nothing but hiding the data. So hiding the data is known as abstraction. That means the student object does not know the details of the faculty. Similarly, the faculty object does not know the details of student. So this concept we are called as abstraction. So hiding the data from one class to another. That means, for example, the student class have a function, for example, display. Now, so this display function only acts with these members. For example, there is a function, so display faculty. So this is the DASF function. If this function try to access this does not allow. Why? So these data are available to only the functions in that class only. So these data members not available to other functions in other classes. Okay. So that concept we are called as abstraction. The next one, inheritance. Inheritance is nothing but acquiring the properties of one class to another class. So for example, this is the class student. Now, the student class contains student number, student name. Now, the same student is going to inherited in all the department classes. For example, this is the department. These classes are related to department. For example, civil, ECE, EEE, CSE, and mechanical. Now, instead of defining the student class in all these classes, I create one student class and I inherit the student class in all the classes. So this concept we are called as inheritance. What is the inheritance? Acquiring the properties of one class to another class. So this class we call as a parent class. So this we are called as a parent class. Okay, in future classes we are going to discuss more about inheritance, the introduction part. So ignore about all these things. Don't discuss more about the inheritance concept. Is the introduction only. So this is the inheritance, acquiring the properties of one class to another class. The next one, polymorphism. So poly means many. Morphism means forms. So polymorphism means many forms. The many forms is nothing but I define a function using a function name display. Display. If I use the function name one more time or more than one time in a program, that concept we are called as a polymorphism. Polymorphism is nothing but polymorphism is nothing but you are going to use the same thing in different forms. That means the same function name you are going to use some more times in your program. So that concept we are called as a polymorphism. Okay. I hope you all are understand the basic concepts of object-oriented programming. So these we are called as a object-oriented principles. In tomorrow class, we are going to discuss about how to create the class and the object. Okay, thank you all. We meet in tomorrow class. Thank you.